curve that set my expectations, but it was definitely one of the things that's always going to be probably pretty good fruit, and I was wrong. So they're misleading people, which seems to be, it's just, that's not good etiquette.
There's school curriculum, there's a class depending on this. Preparing us for life in the real world.
So, we've been talking about probability, and this is just a little itty bitty add-on, and it actually makes a lot of sense compared to everything else we've been working with. So we know how to find percentages, correct? So like if I would say that, if I would ask the question, I need to wash this over so it's in church. If I would say 6 is what percent of 18, you would know how to figure that out, right? How would you do it? Lee, you will tell me how to do it very carefully.
6 over 18.
6 over 18.
And then equals n over 100.
Equals n over 100. And you should be able to do this one in your head as far as what the actual percentage of this is.
33.3%.
That's correct. Because 6 over 18 reduces to 1/3. All right. So this is really just the same old situation, but we're throwing probability into things. So if there is and this actually might help you in your current life rather than your future as well, because it also tells you some stuff about like how to grade and things. So remember that little situation. Remember that little situation that I brought up. See if you remember this.
Do we have to do math on Thursday?
No, there's no work on Thursday.
Yes.
There's no schoolwork on Thursday at all. Tomorrow's our last work day. All right, so here's the deal. We want to figure out what the percentage of these situations is. All right, so if I say there is, so if you throw a rock at the cars up there and you hit one of them, right? There is a chance it's going to be my car. So I want to figure out what the percentage of that chance is. All right, so we start
What's
out.
the chance that you can start with any of them? Because the cars are actually a small percentage of the.
Well, you're going to hit a car. Okay, so we're taking the missing out of the situation. And I understand what you're saying. It's like shooting at a bunch of ducks. You're going to hit one of them, probably. You never know.
Hopefully.
Just don't aim. Just start blasting away. You have a machine gun.
That would be just super fun.
You have a machine
Just
gun
a
shot.
belt-fed weapon and the ducks are used just flying.
No,
This is
you
going
don't
on
have a
YouTube,
belt.
so I can't say all the words. But
You have a belt-fed shotgun or whatever, like as a
I
machine
actually
gun.
have drawings that I've been working on. I haven't worked on it for a good long time, but we hatched out this plan, me and my brothers, to make a slam-fire Gatling gun type shotgun, which would not be legal for hunting. But I wanted to mount it on the top of one of my Jeeps. That is obviously, you can't make it electric where you push a button and you start shooting, but you can make a hand grenade and it's perfectly legal. Anyway, that was a fun side.
I would so use that for hunting.
I would do.
Go running through the field on the back of your Jeep.
I would take this one shotgun or whatever. Like
Probably nobody would even ask questions.
Like you have a semi-auto shotgun, but have like you said, they have like a massive clip on it. Or it might have been fully auto. I don't know, but I
The biggest thing I was always concerned about, which I was never got around to building this in the first place, which was wrong with me. But the big problem with it is probably feeding it can be pretty difficult. But I had kind of a plan.
Just make the big belts just hang on.
No, it's not that. I want it to be box fed
Why?
because it's much simpler than milk fed.
Okay, but belt fed is much cooler.
Much harder to feed stuff through the mechanism. I wanted to just open a box of shells and just dump them into the box, slam the lid down, and just pushes them in. That's an excursion for a different day. But I was just thinking how much fun that would be to go clay shooting with.
you're gonna run around really fast.
Like clay pigeons?
Clay pigeons.
That would be really cool.
You're
Like,
gonna
it's just
run around
like,
really
they're on, like,
fast.
is that someone chucks them in the air?
At Missouri, it
It's
was
genius.
hilarious. We
It's
were all shooting shotgun shells, and there was just this whole line of guys with shotguns. pretty much like all of the older guys just are great with shopping. And these two doves fly by, and it was just suicide. Like they flew by just bam, 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 bam,
Did they die?
bam. Yeah.
All right. So probability of hitting my car with a rock.
1 out of 5.
Let's not test this, by the way.
Alright, let's test it.
Just
Something-
So our probability is 1/5, which we can just simply convert to a percent, which you did it. You used the calculator.
No.
You just did this in your head. Good job. I did it. I did it in my head. So I'm pretty sure you could. Right, so this would convert to a 20% chance because you just divide the top number by the bottom number. So, remember our probability issue? There's from yesterday where I said that you could technically pass your hand through your desk. Let's figure out the percentage of how probable that is.
Oh wow.
No, there's a problem.
We're gonna need a scientific calculator.
I don't have
1/5.2 to the 60 times 10 to the 61st.
Now what?
All right.
What?
I'll use this one because it's handy. No, all mine are. All right, so here's what we do. We go 5.2 second times 10 to the 61st. Oh, hang on. I need to go 1. Clear. On. There we go. 1 divided by 6.2 times 5.2. Times 10 to the 61st equals. Okay, so your chance of actually doing this is 1.9 times 10 to the 58%.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
It's just terrible. The odds are atrocious.
That's not even a percent.
It is a percent. But your odds
It's
are
supposed
terrible.
to be under 100, 100 or 100.
So, what
Or else I don't
what's
like it.
that
Sound
sentence?
a little-
What's the negative 58? What's the negative percent?
Oh, so that is a really big percent. I was
There,
yeah, I was
no,
like,
it's actually.
yeah, that's a huge percent.
All right. So, you say you can use calculator. That's annoying.
Where?
That's actually pretty. Where?
On this right here.
Where's
So, for example, we should.
Oh, right here.
Calculate. No, well, like this right here.
I know.
If you had to convert 4/5 to a percent, we would do. Surely you don't need to.
How about 8%?
Huh?
8%?
Not 8.
80%.
80%. So it's just simple.
Okay, but
So my odds are 4 to 5. It's simple progression from what we were doing.
Okay, can
All
I
right.
test
So
out
let's
the
just,
cards?
let's just make sure that we get this. So the probability of rolling 6 with a game with a dice
So it'd be
game.
1 out of 6.
1 out of 6 is how we write it to begin with, and that equals.
Oh.
Just sure. Use your calculator. Round it to the nearest percent.
You
And don't tell me until everybody has it.
have it.
Chris, you have it?
No, I'm trying to.
So 1 divided by
I know,
6.
I'm locked up. Yes, I got it.
You got it? Got
Are
it?
we supposed to
I don't
round
know
it
what
up?
I'm supposed to do.
Go 1
It
divided by
says round to
6
the nearest whole Yes, number. okay.
and round to the nearest whole. Round to the nearest whole percent.
Whatever. Yes.
Got it?
I don't know if we've got it.
I
What
got
do you
it.
have, Leah?
10%.
That's wrong.
16 and 2/3.
16 2/3, so you round that to the nearest percent, you're gonna get
17%.
17%.
So,
Right, so you just divide this top number by the bottom number. 1 divided by 6 is going to be 16 2/3.
So the next one.
7. All right. Do the next one. The probability of rolling an even number. How many even, so on a
2,
dice.
4, 6. 3 even numbers.
One
There's
over
3 even
two.
numbers and
It's a
then
half chance.
Which one are you on?
these- we're on number 2.
Yeah, it's a
So
half
our odds are 1 to 2. There's an equal chance that we'll roll an odd as an even, so we convert that to a
50%.
percent, and we come up with, you shouldn't need your calculus for this.
I know,
I
I
come
just
up
double
with
checked.
2%.
Oh, you did it the wrong way. You have to go
No, I
1.
did it the right way.
I actually did it completely backwards. You have to go 1 divided by 2. 1 divided by 2 will equal 0.50, which is 50%. It is important, that's also what you got wrong with some other stuff we did earlier, but you always divide that small number by the big number if you're looking for a percent, generally speaking. There's times when you bigger number. All right. Scientific notation. Let's I'll just we'll run over a couple of these. What do you have? 3A.
What? 3A.
3A.
728,000.
728,000. Chris, B.
B. 0.0006.
Yes. Actually, that's 0.0006.
I never put a 0 there.
You ought to start.
It confuses me.
It shouldn't. Make sure your decimal is big enough. Cody, give me 5A.
5A. 63,000 or 65,000.
5A.
Oh, 5A? Okay. 4.3 times 10 to the 8,000.
Yes. And Richard, B. 5B.
2.73 times 10 to the 5th.
Close.
Fifth.
To the negative 5th. That's correct. All right. What happens when you get this?
Lots of things.
So
8x cubed.
8x cubed. Why 8x cubed instead of 8x squared?
You're too slow, Richard. I forgot about that. Okay.
Leah, why 8x cubed instead of 8x squared?
Because there is an invisible one side up for it.
Yeah. Good move. All right, algebra.
Look at number 19. These guys are nuts.
You got papayas.
That's just gross.
Papaya jelly. What's up with papaya jelly? I know that just sounds gross.
Why didn't they just try mangoes? Like, they have
Yeah,
access.
yeah,
They have
yeah.
access to these things. Why would they do mangoes?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever had
Speaking of
watermelon
mangoes.
jelly?
Yes. I also had tomato jelly. It wasn't cherry. Green tomato jelly. Grandma made it. That was pretty good.
Watermelon jelly? Is it good?
It's not terrible. I never liked tomatoes. So the green tomato jelly, like, it took me a little bit to do that.
Green tomatoes.
Really, it tasted like.
I like tomatoes.
Was it green?
It tasted like raspberry jelly.
Was it
I
green?
like jellies.
Well, they probably just want to put
And your
raspberry.
opinion doesn't matter.
They
It
probably
doesn't
don't
matter.
matter.
It was. It was green and it tasted like raspberries.
Probably they
Very
just put just raspberry flavor in
I'm
there.
sure, because green tomatoes don't have much taste.
And they said it was green tomato taste.
If you
with
can grow
raspberry
green
flavor.
tomatoes, that right.
Nobody knows.
One machine uses the word. All right. So algebra.
Yeah.
If we have 6 steps in an equation, what's our first one? Just kind of off.
I know what they are.
Well,
Can't think of the first one. It's where you put A,
What's our
B, and
first
C
step?
equals that number. The variables equals whatever the number is.
Right. So the first step winds up being that, yeah, we want to label our variables, right?
Better look that.
And then it's actually here on the beginning or on page 207. It says label and represent the unknown value. The values set up solution to find a numerical value is a check. Make sure you do not miss the important ones to me, and making sure that the setup is correct. So you need to label and set up. And I want to have your equation written out
There's one. I have both of them.
as it's set up, and then you're checking is the other important one. All right. So let's go ahead and check the what?
These, or yeah, like the 6 steps.
There's 6 steps. There are 4 that are just super important to me.
Yeah, I didn't do those.
Which are the ones that are important to you?
The setup. Yeah, I should have been marking those long.
So 2 through 5.
I want the, well, setup to me also entails labeling the unknown values. Right. So I want you to be labeling the unknown values, and then I want your equation to be set up without simplifying it too much, right? So say your first value is x plus 4, and your second is x. I want you to write it out as x plus 4 plus x equals 27. So that's what I'm looking for. I want those things to be set up.
If they have like negative x over 2 minus 1 equals y, like those deals,
Remember this.
if x is 0, what do you do?
Right.
Remember here,
So,
negative x. Negative x is the same as negative 1x. So substitute like that. Negative 1
You still come out with 0, negative 0.
doesn't matter. It's negative 0 is 0. Except for there's a specific use case, but that's an imaginary number we're not going to talk about. Used with lasers and things.
And so I got
Oh, I was 90.
Okay. All right. So number 1. From here on out, I'm going to be giving these ones. Okay, so each answer. Not today. Not this. So each answer. So like angle A is 60 degrees, angle B is 120, angle C is 50, angle D is 130. Those are each 1 point. And from here on out, we're going to do checking as a point, set it as a point. And equation.
Can I tell you why that's hard? Because
Well,
I usually write it on this
I
paper,
understand.
and then I erase it because I'm doing other work over it. Because
I would
don't-
like you to try not to. I would like you to try to make sure it's well labeled.
Let me see if I.
Because on tests and stuff, I can give you extra points for having this stuff down. And if you're in a habit, it's not as hard to remember. Like in the last test, it was literally 1 point per step. And I was really lenient on it because I hadn't been pushing this stuff earlier. All right, so that's the direction I want to go with this, if we all can. All right, so the answers for 2, it's adding 18 feet will result in the perimeter 5 times the original. Is what we say. You have to be adding 18 feet on each. Yeah, flip both length and the width. Number 3, it's 22 years, if we did those in class. 4. The answer is m equals 2 over 7. So,
3 over 7.
so you subtracted something incorrectly.
No.
Was
I
negative 6
know what
over
I
negative
did
1?
wrong.
Okay.
I have my work with me.
All right,
I
number
divided.
5 is 0. Number 6 is negative 4 over 3. Number 7 is negative 1 over 5. Number 8, negative 1 over 5.
The whole thing's like.
Yes. Number 8 is 1 over 5. Number 9 is negative 8 over 3. Number 10 is 8 to the 9th. Number
Okay,
11
Mr.
is,
Ted,
yes.
can you read 7, 8, and 9 again, please?
7 is negative 1 over 5.
Okay.
8 is 1 over 5. And 9 is negative 8 over 3. Number 10 is 8 to the 9th. Number 11 is 6 to the 10th. Number 12 is 3 squared. 13 is y to the 5th over x squared. 14 is 8 to the 5th. 15 is 1 over 12 to the fourth. 16 is 4 times the square root of 2. 17 is 3 times the cube root of 2. 18 is 3 times the cube root of 4. 19 is 42. 20 is 6 times x squared y minus 3xy squared plus 2.
What number was that one?
20.
I
21.
forgot the rest of that one.
21 is x squared y times 3x minus 2y plus 1. 20 plus 1.
There's no one in here.
So that's because there's x squared y. So you divide x squared y by x squared y, your answer is 1.
Hey, Mr. Kent,
Yes.
I have X squared as my,
Rather than x squared y.
yeah.
Oh,
What number is that?
Plus 21.
Okay, I don't know why I didn't.
22 is 5x plus 8y. You have 6y plus 8. I'm afraid that's incorrect. It doesn't come out. 23 is 9k squared minus 3k minus 19. Minus 19. 24. X cubed minus x squared minus x plus 2. 25. Negative 6m minus 6mn plus 41m plus 14n minus 63. 26 is negative mn plus mb minus n squared plus p squared. 27. X squared plus 4x plus y plus 4, I'm sorry. X squared plus 4x plus 4. 28. 4x to the fourth plus 12x squared plus 9. 29 is m squared plus 8m plus 16. 30 is 1 to 4. 31 is 5 to 6. 32 is negative 5 to 3. 33, circle on the 0. Arrow
What
to
was
the
33?
left. Negative 5 over 3.
Negative 0.
Rise over 1. Yeah. Right, 33 is a circle on the 0, arrow to the left, and a circle on the 5, arrow to the right. 34, dot on the 20 and dot on the 37, line between them. 35, x is less than 3, or x is greater than 7. 36, 5 is equal to or less than 5. Is, oh my bad, no, they go 5, and then they have a less than or equal to symbol, then x, and less than symbol, 11. Yeah. 37. They simplified that to 19 and 98. 38 is 3 and 1/2. 39 is 2 and 13 over 25.
I have 5 and 3. That's wrong.
For which one?
For 39?
Yeah.
It should have come out to 5 and 3.
No, it should not have. I'm trying to decide why. You would have come with that, you.
I haven't.
Yeah, basic, no, you were trying to add or something funny going on. Yeah, sure. Kind of some mix between adding and multiplying. 40 is 1/2. 41. January's usage was 2,700 kilowatts, and June's usage was 740.
I have one switch, I have the one's wrong, and I have the one right.
You just forgot which one you were going after. That's something checking would have picked up. But, yeah. Take 1 point off for that.
So, for the whole thing, I have one wrong, and one that's
Just take 1 off for that. And, yeah. So, start there. And 42. Second week is $578. First week is 472, and the third week is 451.
I have them on. I have 498 from the
For the which?
second week.
Okay, so they went kind of in a funny order. They did the second week first at $517.
That's not what I have.
First week at $472, and third week at 451.
That's not.
Those could be.
Any of them.
Okay, so here's how they have this set up. No, we didn't do this one. Then the second setup is E. The first as
I did the first one.
E minus 45,
Yes, that's what I have.
and the third as E minus 66.
E minus 66.
It's easier to do the first. If you do first equals F, second equals 45 plus F, third equals F minus 41.
It said in the second week was
Okay, so
21
what's your-
more than the third one.
Can I review
Yeah.
my answers, Mr. King?
Yes.
For the first week, I have 458. The second week, I have 503. The third week, I have 471.
I don't have those
All right.
numbers.
How do you have it set up? You have
can come
you have
up
one
with-
as an E. I mean, you have first week as E.
Yeah.
First week is E.
No, I have the second week.
As T.
I
I labeled them as T.
Okay.
I did the second week first. I
45
didn't
plus
like
the
did it
second.
except for the third week. I
21.
just went minus 45 plus 21.
But my answers come out to 1440.
45 plus 21 is that?
We add them together. I can't do it. Say again.
You wanna
All right.
see my work?
I want to see your work here.
I don't know why.
Cheaters. Why did it take from one to the other?
You have T minus 45 and T plus 21.
No, I don't know. I just did it.
Or
I did it
88
first
plus
like that. Why did you do it like that? Because that's the way
I'm not
some
sure.
goes right. It
1440.
makes perfect sense.
Chrissy, I have different numbers than you too. Do they?
Okay, Leah,
Yours are-
Lisa,
Mine's
I
not.
think you just set it up incorrectly.
Take you out though.
What's the problem?
45, third. The second week, oh no, okay. Second week. The first, oh yeah, I see what you did. Yeah, they can still come out, correctly. So here's the problem, is you were comparing this to the wrong week. That's where you went wrong.
So how many wrong is that? 3?
Issue. Checking it and anything.
Yes, so sometimes it doesn't, like if you did your setup incorrectly, it won't actually
What
fix
was
it.
wrong with my setup?
So here's the deal.
I did exactly what they did.
Chrissy, did yours?
This
Check
equals
that,
right?
66.
But you have to go 45 minus 60. You have to go X minus 66, not X. 45 plus 21 comes out to a different number.
No, it actually comes out to 66. I did it.
I know, but see the way you have it set up here, X minus 45 plus 21. So the way you would solve that is you would combine 45 and 21. So you have negative 45 and a positive 21. You need to set that up as negative 66. That's what you did wrong. So you were, so basically
So
you
mine
go
was
negative
positive
45 and
one.
negative 21 in order to combine those. That's where you
So
go
what
wrong.
X is 503. And now minus 66.
Mhm.
Minus 66. The problem is Mr.
Well, see, the thing is, if you did your equation with those numbers, it's going to be completely screwed up.
I did.
So is it 3 wrong on mine?
See, this is a situation where I can give you extra points if we did it the other way. Why don't you take 2 for that? Okay. And you can take What were your numbers again?
They were all on
They're
there.
all wrong.
Yeah, 4, 5, 8 for the first one, the second one was 5, 3, the third one was 4, 7.
Actually, both of you just take 1 point for that. On account of it was the setup. Everything else checked out, but it was the setup that was incorrect. All right, 43. We didn't do the extra practice, did we?
Oh, yeah.
40.
I did 40.
Oh, yeah, one of them said, yeah, 43. So your first angle is 20 degrees, second is 70. 44.
I will have one.
Okay.
Probably the last right now, the other one.
44, Matthew's 40 and his father is 80. And then 45, the answers are, two identical angles are 45 degrees, and the third angle is 90. 46, 16 years ago, or 84, 64. All right, so we're going to start, I'm gonna call it, call it 85 points. Yes. Count that today.
That's not too bad, 9 on the.
Yes.
That's a great creative.
And
Well, somebody's math.
I don't remember what
It's
the
79.
All right. So, what we are going to do, have this terrible desperate feeling that we're going to be going back over basically all of this, which is terrible. That we're going to wind up going basically over all of this is what I'm saying. Alright. I'm going to talk about multiplying radicals, and then I want to talk about, basically we're going to pick and choose a word from this lesson. Where are you guys at?
I did 10 to 32.
10 for 32?
I think so. But I have another number. I didn't write down something
Okay.
because I have 34 and then on my board.
Okay.
The number 34 would be the answer. Okay, number 5 or something.
Alright. Let's talk about multiplying radicals. So here's the deal. The principle we have we've actually already played this out. But the principle is that if you have a, as long as those numbers are the same, A times B, this will equal, and we've already played that out, like if you can do this, for example, we'll just substitute 2 for A and we'll substitute 4 for B, which unfortunately we can just solve, but we're not going to. If we're going to multiply those, this will equal 2 times 4, 8. Alright, so we've already played with this, we already kind of know what's going on, how to work this out. The trick is, and the reason we're going over this, is just to make sure that we understand that if we have a situation like this, and this is part of the reason, right now we're just not touching this situation at all. We're just going to leave that alone. If we have an index, or indexes, we're only putting them together right now this way, our indexes are the same. All right, let's just jump right into it. For example, And then if you look at this, if we have this sort of situation going on,
Exactly the difference between 4A and 4B and the actual.
so in a situation like this, we take these numbers and multiply them and get 8. And then under the radical, we multiply these numbers and we get 60. Right? So that's what's going on here.
So number 5, it would be 6 to 18. They just said to the right hand.
Right. 6 times the square root of 18. Say what? What was your question, Kristen? If you have this, for example, you simply multiply what's under the radicand and imagine that there's a 1 here, so 5 times 1 to the outside. So if there's nothing as a coefficient of the radicand or the radical, then just figure it's 1. Same as number x. You just always figure the coefficient of x is 1. Same situation.
Number 3 is 180.
So one is just.
Number 1 is going to be the square root of 6. Exactly. Make sure that that's the square root of 6.
And 2 is the square
And
root
2
of
is going to be the square root of, say what?
25.
Yes,
Or
now
do
that's
you-
interesting though. You can actually simplify that farther.
I just wanted to try.
You should, I think. Hang on. Make sure.
But you can simplify 6 too.
No.
Nothing but 2.
Yes, simplify it if you can. So for example, 2, obviously, you get 5, the square root of 5 times the square root of 5, which comes out to the square root of 25. You can simplify it to 5. So if you can simplify it like that,
So
you should.
Square root of 5.
No, not the square root of 5.
Five.
Just 5. Not the, it's the square root of 25, which is 5, right? Same as the square root of 16 is. Exactly. You were saying there's another one? Number, you said 4? What's 4? Any clue? Alright, so here's the other thing that pulled off, actually.
What number is
I
252?
didn't notice you were doing this.
Is it like 16 or something?
So what? I didn't notice they were doing this. They're actually factoring some of these as well. So, like for number 3, they're factoring 60. So they take 60 and they factor the living daylights out of the sucker to simplify it. So we get 2 and 30 and 2 and 15 and 3 and 5. So the square root of 60 we'll write as 2 times 2 times
When
3
you write
times
2
5.
outside,
Say what?
when you write 2 outside, you can do
Exactly.
2 and
2 and 15 is how you would factor 60. And then you have
When you just
3.
add 30 times 15 times 3 is 45, so you
Right.
get 2 and 35, 45 and
2 and the root of 45 is exactly how you do that.
how do you do 5 again?
Okay, so 5, we have, okay, so we have 2, third, and 3 times 6. So we can actually, yeah. So basically this one we just go 2 times 3, which is,
6.
and that's outside the red, that's a coefficient. And we get 3 and 6,
Okay,
which is
and then 18.
18.
But how do you do number 4?
And-
Simplify 4 out.
The problem with that one is that you can actually
Reduce 18.
you can actually simplify that.
Wait,
To
so
another
18
It would be 18 and
It's
6
2
in radical?
and 9 and you get 3 and 3. So you would get,
18.
um,
It would be the 3 times 6.
right. So when you reduce this, That will reduce.
12,
No,
18.
so you have 3, this comes over here, times 6,
Oh.
times the square root of 2, and this simplifies.
Okay, but what do you do with your
So
2
you just have
and
to
your 18
factor.
that you already have? Oh, no,
This
18.
2, this
Okay,
2
never
stays
mind.
under the
Got
radicand.
it.
It's same as simplifying anything else. Truth of the matter is, you should simplify before you get to this point. Like, you should simplify before you start multiplying. Right?
So number 4 is 6 times the square root of 7.
Number 4 is, yes. All right. That's because the square root of 4 goes back. I mean, it's easy to do so too. So what? Number 7. All right. Oh dear. Happened to us again.
They're all
So
even
here's what we're gonna
numbers,
do.
so you could divide them over two.
Hang on.
It's
Are you
one
cheating?
big- no. I'm thinking in my head out loud.
All right. So you know what the answer is. So I'll make it easier for you to do than algebra to find the answer.
1, 2, and 3.
That's not the question. All right. So we have 3 angles of a triangle. They're even numbers. The angles of the triangle equal what? All right. So we're going to set this up algebraically. Our first angle is going to be
You don't know any of them, so they're all.
right. But they all are related to each other. All right. They are consecutive even numbers. All right. So our first one is going to be x. These are consecutive even.
X
Right.
plus 2, and
So x
x
plus 2 and x plus 4.
So
All
you're
right.
right, x plus
So we're at x, and then you go plus x plus 2, and then you go plus x plus 4
equals 180.
equals 180. That's correct. That's how that's set up.
Now, what else do you need in your answer?
I want this,
Yeah.
I want this, set up like that. Then I want your equation, and then your answer, obviously, and the checking. So once you're done with this equation, sorting this one out, I want your answer. So first is going to be whatever it is. I won't skip it to you accidentally. And the third angle is going to be whatever it is. So I'm going to need that information. And then I want your checking, which is just going to be just plugging your numbers there. All right. I want you to I feel like we need to work on these as well. We're going to work on it tomorrow. We're going to talk about it. 38 to 47. We're not going to do this right now.
Which
38 to 47. Okay. What about those? I want you to do 48 through 50. Don't do 51 and 52. I'm not going to do 53 to 59. I appreciate that. Good note. All right, it's time for recess. I really wish to start over from a new one, but we can. Lisa, Jimmy Gamble, stuff I really much appreciate. Appreciate it.
I came up with
182 instead of
Hey, Mr. Ken, you want to read exactly what you have?
wrong.
50 equals 6 equals
You must have done your addition wrong.
What's 58 plus 4?
What's what?
58 plus 4.
We get 58 plus
Oh,
60.
I did it wrong.
Right.
50 equals
Lisa, let's go.
Okay, so can I ask if 6 is right? I have
Yes.
4 times the cube root of 30.
It's as good as you can do.
So for 8, you have the length equals L minus
Right. So the way you would set that
and
up.
the width equals W minus.
Okay, so here's the deal.
It's like volleyball.
Oh, perimeter equals P, length equals perimeter.
So you
and width.
I would start out like this. So the perimeter of a square,
It said its perimeter will be 172 once 2 is added to the length and width of the square. And we
was
need to
added to
know-
length and width, right?
Yeah, but we need to know what it is without.
All right, so here's the deal.
What is the
So we start with what's our perimeter?
P, 2L plus 2.
That's a square, so we can actually simplify it down. Sides times 4. Right? So the length of the side is this. So we start out like this. So the original length of the side is what? We'll call this
N. Or
N,
P,
sure.
whatever.
Okay, or S, it doesn't matter. And the length of the side after we add to it is what?
N minus 2 or N plus 2?
Once we add the number to it, it's going to be n plus 2, right? So,
Is that what? width
because
is?
we're trying to find the original, right?
Yeah.
So because we're trying to find the original, that means we label the original as n, and the new one is n plus 2, because we can quantify how much it's increasing. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So, we know that the new perimeter, which is the only one we have, is
172.
172.
What about the width?
And we can go, well, it's the same, length and width is going to be the same because it's a square.
Yeah. There you go.
So we go 4,
Oh,
take this number, 4, and then times the length of the sides, which is
N plus
n plus 2. See? Alright,
But that's the answer? Don't you need a minus of that 4?
well, that's what you're going to do here. You want to subtract 4. Width of the way.
my fingers.
He just used
Mike-
whatever comes to
Jim.
Jim.
I'm just struggling right now. In algebra. Like the last two lessons I did not retain up.
I can't even find my reading book. I don't know where it went.
Like whole thing.
I have no idea.
Man, if he actually did that to his kids,
I
he'd
just
probably
read
just
it
sell it
out.
from his
I
dad.
just read these till
I would.
So he did that to his kids.
Oh, yes.
Like, and then I can kind of see what they did. to
I
get
tried to
their
find
answer.
another one.
I need to like, I don't know how to.
Hey guys, I have all the answers.
Okay, give me an answer for number 8.
Like that. What?
Number 8. That is that if changes are added to the length and the width of the square.
That's not the answer.
What are you
Do you need the perimeter or church?
What are you eating?
Is one string
72 equals 4 and plus 8 somewhere in there. Okay, wait, what are you going on?
7. 8.
8. I'm not there. I know there are weird noises going up.
You want the answer to number 63?
There's no number 63.
Is it 41? Richard, is number 8 41? Wow, what a teacher. Can't even tell you.
Number 8.
Yeah, is it 41?
Can't even read.
Illiterate.
The present length of each side is 41 units.
So that's the
Okay, I
answer.
might actually be able to use that.
Well, you can use that, you still have to do the work.
Mr. Kenton.
Is this
Here,
a
I can know that too.
I
is
just
this a B-24?
172
It is a Chinese piece of
4N
garbage
plus-
airplane that means nothing
So-
to anyone.
So now we're throwing in the trash. So the Chinese
Well,
one.
it means something to my children. It's a Chinese model that,
Length
That
equals
looks really
10
good
plus
to me.
2.
I think it's just something that's some choice.
Length equals what times 2? And,
I think it's actually.
oh, and so T equals 4x. That's the first.
So here's the deal. So here's the important thing, Christy, is that we have this. So our formula for the perimeter of a circle, we can just write as perimeter equals 4s, right? So that's our area for the perimeter of a square, I'm sorry, right? Each side times 4. So the side times 4, right? We're good? Happy?
Yeah.
Right, so that's our
So then
formula.
how do you check this one? Okay, I can figure these out, I just don't know how to get.
Okay,
like,
so the thing is, so what you have to, the most important thing, maybe this would be a helpful thing. The most important thing is you have to label the thing you're looking for as x. So in this situation, we're looking for the current length of the sides, right? So that's n. Right? We're looking for current length. So whatever you're looking for, that's what you label your variable. So you're looking for your variable, you label that in. Has to be. So now what we have is we're adding, we know that when we add 2 feet, I guess it is, to each side, then the perimeter equals 172. And that's how we work it from there. The other important thing is to remember is that this 4s, S is representing length equals, is representing this at this point. It's representing your sides. Right?
Okay.
So we kind of changed this up on us, which, for whatever reason, unfortunately, the way this kind of geometrical equations work. All right. 9.
No, how do you figure out check it then? That's the other thing. I came out with 41, but how do you check?
Okay, so how
So
did you do? I want to see your equation. I want to see the setup of your equation.
172 equals 4.
Just plug this in.
41.
Just see this equation right here.
Yeah.
Just take this. 172 equals 4 times 41.
Okay.
Oh, 41. Yeah, that has to be 41 plus 2. That's correct because
So it comes
the
out
number
to
we're using is n plus 2.
164 plus 8.
164 plus 8.
Mr. Kenton, I
Yes.
just want this, I'm gonna be honest right here. In 7, 8 through 9, I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time until I get, like when I get to the x, right there, the long
you're not-
rectangle box, I know what I'm doing.
You can't figure out this part, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Okay. I know. And I'm trying to figure out a better way to tell you.
But are the 5 steps and the 6 steps the same thing?
Not quite. They're really, really close.
So when I do one part, I'm not doing the
But these
other
ones only
part.
have 5 steps.
These ones only have 5 steps. That doesn't mean they're easier.
That's true,
Uh,
I think the 6
What they
steps
did, yeah, the 6 is definitely easier, which is what I'm doing before. Let me look back at 6 steps, which are. Some of this you can only solve through. I mean, you wind up with practice. Like that's honestly what you're shooting for, and learning how to think algebraically, which is a difficult. Actually, it's actually kind of a big hurdle for every time. Main difference between 5 steps and 6 steps.
You need the checking too.
You should have the check, yes. I'm not sure which one I was in that.
What was it called?
Hmm?
What lesson is it called? You didn't find it?
Okay, number 9. So let's try to figure this out. First of all, what are we looking for specifically?
The Tyler's father is 4. Tyler's father 4 times Tyler's.
So we're looking for, what are we looking for specifically? Our main thing that we're going to call n or x or.
The amount of years.
So we're looking for the amount of years that have gone past, correct?
Yeah.
All right. And next, what else do we know?
Tyler is 22 and his father's 50.
Okay, so we know Tyler equals 22, and his father is 52. This is currently, right? So we're looking for what?
How long ago the father was 4 times Tyler's age?
All right, so that's our equation, right? How long ago was the father 4 times Tyler's age? So we know, well, let's go like this. How would we represent 4 times Tyler's age, normally speaking? If we were to represent what 4 times Tyler's age is, we would do. Normal circumstances. Let's just call Tyler. We'll just call Tyler T right now, right? How would we represent 4 times Tyler's age?
14.
14. Okay. Well, you're close. All right. So the thing that we're doing here. Okay. So there's very often no right way to do this. So I'm just looking to make sure I'm going to do it the way they're going to do it. I was on their track with this. All right. So here's the deal. Is at some point, his father's age. Chris, are you with us on this one?
No.
On number 9, did you get that one? Okay.
I don't remember.
All right. You want to stick with us on this one for a little bit, so I don't have to explain it again. At some point, Tyler's age equaled his father's age. Is that correct? Or equal 1/4 of his father's age. So basically, we're going to put these guys on separate sides of the equation. All right? So we're going to go, and this is an unknown amount of years ago. So we start with his father, which is 52, an unknown amount of years ago. So we're going to say minus n equals this is close, 22 minus n. So the thing that we're forgetting here is it has to be 4 times Tyler's age. At some point, this 4, yeah. So we go multiply this side by 4. Basically, that's saying this. So at one point, Dad equaled 4 times Tyler's age. That's essentially what we wrote here. Right? We just wrote it 52 minus n because this is Dad an unknown amount of years ago equaled Tyler's age, which is 22 now, but it's an unknown amount of years ago. So we're representing Tyler right here. Like that. All right, so now we just solve it. Same as normal. All right. I'm not going to solve the rest of it on the board because that's not the struggle we're having. The struggle we're having is getting this on paper.
I'm actually having a problem with things like.
Number 8 as well.
Yeah,
Okay. So here's the deal. We'll start like this. What are we looking for?
You're looking for the present length and width of the square.
Okay. The present length and width. So the thing is, a square is the perimeter of the square we can represent with P equals 4s, 4 times the sides, right?
Yeah.
That's a formula we can just use for squares. All right. So we know, well, what we're looking for is the length of the square now, right?
Okay.
So because we're looking for that specific number, that's the one we label as n. You label the number you're looking for. That's your variable. All right? The one now. We're looking for the one now. All right, so let's set up this equation with this situation. So notice how we're doing the same thing here as we did with 4t, by the way. So the sides here kind of represents this loosely. So we know that the perimeter, once we add what, 4? 2 to each side.
Yeah, good.
All right. So the length of sides, once we add 2 to each side, is
And plus.
right. All right. So this is the information we're going to have to use in our equation because we know that the perimeter, once we add 2, is what? We will n plus 2.
Yeah.
So now we're set up like this.
Yeah.
So now we just solve this.
I got A equals 41, right?
So we go 4n plus
2. Or 8. Equals 172. Subtracting on both sides. You get 164 equals 4n. Multiply both sides by 4. And we get 41 equals 8. Okay,
All right.
so I know that.
So now we're to this point. So now we have to set it up again. We have to run our equation with this, or actually essentially with this equation again. So we write 172, check it, equals 4. Now we get to substitute n for, what can we substitute for n?
41.
Sorry, 41 plus 2. And now we solve it. So 41 plus 2 is 43 times 4 equals 172. 172 equals,
172, but I have a question now. This is my real question. What did I do with the 4s? Did I go 4 times 49?
you're saying this situation?
Yes. In my answer, do I have to go P equals 4 times 49?
Okay, so here's the important thing to remember. is S in this equation
Equals size.
equals length of side. So what we should have done, well, not really. Because the thing is, so this is just a normal algebraic equation. So where when you run across, or a geometric equation technically, when you run across a square and the side is S, we want to find the perimeter, we can say perimeter equals 4S. It's like saying the area equals pi r squared. It's the same situation. It's just a standard stand-in equation, right? The thing that this does for us, more than anything else, is it kind of puts this map into a box. So we use this to set up this equation, but I used n here because the length of my side is now. I suppose I could have used s and it wouldn't have mattered. But we have to remember that the length of sides once we add is going to be s plus 2.
Okay, so then I would write the length of sides equals 41, and then the length equals 43.
I would just set it up like that. I mean, like this. This is your formula. Sides now, sides once we add. That's the information that I want. You have to make sure that you mention that this is what our length of sides now is. Lisa, I have a present for you.
Yeah, I saw
I know you did. I ordered some, just some tape to put on them as well, but this honestly feels better than that. Not any of those things are not yet here, so it's a good keyword.
Does it really pop on every now and then?
You can turn them on, but don't.
I want them on at first. Spotlight.
There's backlights.
What was that mean?
Are you taking them out or something?
It got damaged in shipping.
That keyboard is cool. Like, I love the way it looks differently than that.
I know, but it is
Sounds like a
typing
real
without looking.
Dad has a keyboard
No.
like that where he
It is
uses
necessary.
this
Your
awesome.
boss, well, and you probably will thank you in the future. But right now you're going to be mad as hell. I remember being mad as hell.
I'm not mad.
Disappointed. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Huge.
Well, you can do what you wish.
I can pull it down.
Well, you can set this up
Oh, my
beyond
lights are on.
on beyond the fixed. And
Oh, shit.
Oh, let's see the light.
I want to see what it's
Yeah, I think it's
It looks really nice. Like, that's kind of
But you can't really see it.
I know it's terrible either way.
I want to see the lights.
Hey, what? I don't want.
We did a virus. Where's enter? Oh, wow, that's a big enter. Sweet. That's so weird.
Oh, that's why you press enter.
Okay.
Too many errors.
Richard.
You need a check.
Why is it doing it?
Oh, it must be a sticky key. You know that, right?
Oh,
It's pushing a key on the
See, it's really nice.
Errors.
Okay.
Take away the lights.
I can look up there.
okay,
No,
go.
you can.
But I'm not on the right.
Just
I'm on the wrong one.
Can we start a different one or something? for you to make-
Yeah.
make
It
sure?
looks like fun, like that keyboard that's actually
Oh,
really good.
boy.
You have to interpret this.
Okay, so the thing to keep in mind is that your fingers are supposed to be on the J and the F, which are visible right there. Exactly.
I know where they are.
Perfect. So it should be no struggle at all.
I like that right there.
So this is how I did my checking for that first one.
Good luck.
So, what are these ones up
This is
here?
how I did.
Those are F keys. F1, F2. So this is your numbers. Don't worry about the F keys.
I don't know.
Don't touch it.
You don't need to realize we can get the macros.
Can this be considered checking?
Well, I would count that on a test, I guess.
It will. Why is this one? Because it's not what I need for this one.
Yes.
But I don't have any checking on
Not
here.
yet.
What kind of checking?
So basically, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to write your equation again and just enter your, just add your numbers. All right. It's all fun and games if someone starts typing without numbers on their keyboard.
You
Well,
can't hold that, because I want to turn
I don't want it.
sure.
Oh, you never.
And silly keyboard costs $45, so that's what. I have covers coming from some. I'm not sure if I'll work. I didn't want to just put them on all of them all the time, and the stickers, so it's going to be inconvenient, kind of. But
Project Line. Great. Just trying to remember where some of the letters are.
Isn't that one word per minute?
no, your times are really going to
It's
suffer for a little bit,
For a little bit.
not very long. Your times will get much,
Well,
much
now I
better.
don't know where some of my things are.
I know. Isn't that funny? You're going to have to learn the way you should have learned in the first place.
Okay, that one.
All right. On language,
Yeah.
switch to reading.
I have my reading book, I don't know where it's at.
Where is it? I was wondering because I sure didn't find it in. I was going to talk to you about that. I actually made a note. You have no clue where your reading book is?
Should we just skip reading?
No. I mean, I'll find something, but that's very odd that a whole entire reading book would go missing. I do not have it. I have neither hide nor hair. Anybody have an extra reading book laying around in their desk?
Nope, I did.
That's good. I don't have to do reading today.
Well, we'll print something off if we have to.
I already did.
I already did the whole lesson.
I'll figure something out.
E to D.
I mean, books don't just go missing.
Sometimes.
Oh, they did too.
Oh, ours did last year.
I never had that this year.
I have.
I was really confused because I looked in your desk, couldn't find it. I figured maybe you took it home or something.
First
It
just
didn't-
decided.
oh, maybe it fell in the trash.
Oh.
Did the trash man just?
I almost threw my Bible book away on accident.
It actually could have fell in the trash. That's a likely possibility.
I'm actually going to go out and study on that here in a second. So what we're going to do first then in that situation is we're going to do language right now.
Yeah, how do you use that in the program? That, I hope it's in like.
That as a
Don't
pronoun.
do that. Don't do that. That problem solved. Don't do that.
That as a what? As an
As a
adjective?
pronoun.
Why can't you?
Okay, so what's a pronoun? Where do we find a pronoun?
I don't know. In place of a noun.
In place of a noun. So you don't have to use that as a noun of a sentence, or as a direct object, or as a noun of a preposition, or as something. Obviously, as a pronoun, it needs to have an antecedent of some kind. Unless, of course, it's an understood antecedent. All right. Language.
Can you tell us how many
Oh, whoops.
adverbial nouns and adverbial noun phrases are in numbers 1
We're
through
going to start
7?
by checking, because that's the best. Apostrophes.
Okay.
So, if two people own something together, we have, I'll just call him, no, hang on. Two things.
Slobs.
We're going to say Mr. Mr. Nielsen, director, long stocking, and
That is from Nelson. And I don't know Nelson.
I think it's NIL. And the horse. And they together, we're talking about their porch. All right. So one
Mr.
together.
Nielsen and the horses.
So only apostrophe after horses? Horse, I mean? Right, apostrophe S after this, because they own it together. But, I don't know, Pippi playfully bopped Mr. Nielsen playfully bopped their noses. All right. Whose noses?
Both of theirs. They're separate noses.
They're separate noses, so
They both have a
you would apostrophize them separately. Apostrophize is a good word. All right. Number 1 on page 37 is Utah and Nevada's border. Pretty much. Number 2, everyone's name. 3, the lion's growl. And 4, the Attorney General's office. Number 5, Jake's and my address. Number 6, Michelle's and Colleen's voices. Number 7, my sister and her friend's apartment. Number 8, the school board's decision. Number 9, John's and your art project. Number 10, add apostrophe S and an S to each word. 11, add apostrophe S to the last word. 12, make both the name and the pronoun possessive. And 13, add apostrophe and S to the last word. 14, no one except, well, it's me, is what it is on 14. And 15 is I. 14 is me, 15 is I. You got the mixed up. Okay, Chris? 14 is me, 15 is I. 16, add verb. 17 noun, 18 adjective, 19 noun. 20, has known or have known. 21, had swum.
I have had swam.
Yeah, me too.
I've
Yeah,
never
that's-
said
Oh, I
I
had-
swam. I said I wouldn't swim.
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
one
but
says
because
swim.
I had
so
had
swum, I
swum.
think would be the past participle, which is very odd because it's irregular, obviously, which is intermediate. So swam would be past, but swum would be past participle. It's an inconvenience, but take a half point for that. Because,
Mr. K, it's wrong.
is it?
Yes,
We
it
can
is.
look it up. 22. Will have rung, shall have rung.
That will be related.
Will be ringing.
What does that have?
That would be, no, that's a different tense, which we're not going to worry about. It's will have and or shall have rung because of being perfect. 23. Helen stepped, subject verb. Eagerly yet hesitantly is underneath step, the yet between them. And to the podium is prepositional phrase underneath step. 24, measles is their subject, causes is a verb.
Causes?
And causes and is. Measles causes and is. Measles is a singular disease. So it gets singular verbs. 25, styles is your first subject and were. One is your next subject and was.
How achievements was?
So what?
How achievements instead of. You know what?
So that would be 1 point for the incorrect subject. 26, hydraulics is your subject and has is your verb. Hydraulics has. 27, subject, verb, verb, verb. Nancy is your subject, walked, opened, and basked. These are your verbs. It's a simple sentence because it only has one subject verb pattern.
I'm gonna get such a bad grade.
I know.
Me too, actually.
I'm trying to decide what's going on.
I already have like 7 wrong.
I
28.
have way more than
28 is present, past participle, and present participle. 29, 30. Speaking of 29, did you do spelling? Did you do double check spelling?
I don't think I
I sure
did.
didn't see any. I just gave you a 0. 30 is impeach. 31 is nullify. 32 veto. 33 campaign. 34 election. 35 constitution. 36 inaugurate. 37 scandal. 38 lobby. 39 campaign.
Where are you at?
So if we don't do it, we
Keep saying
just
the
get
numbers.
3 wrong?
Well, I was going to do it
If
yesterday.
it becomes a pattern, we will start just taking much more. Once in a while, I will just take 3 off. I don't see any reason why it has to happen.
What was 30?
I'm just saying, like, if I ever, I'm just thinking if I never pressed the button.
No,
Skip.
that's a terrible idea.
Actually, Oh,
39 is, say what?
35 to 30.
Okay, catch up with me, please. 35 is Constitution, 36 inaugurate, 37 scandal, 38 lobby, 39 dictate, 40 Parliament, 41 government, 42 ratify, 43 Senate, 44 delegate, or delegate, I'm sorry. The situation, 45 candidate, 46 legislature, 47 House of Representatives, 48 monarchy, 49 democracy. The word delegate can also be used as a verb.
Not really. Oh, wait. I don't think it's 30. No, it can't be. It can't be.
Where are you at? How bad is it?
4.5. 4.5. I mean, maybe.
There's 72 options.
He's getting the first grade.
How many do you have?
That's well, huh?
I have 13.
Yeah. So then what?
Adverbial nouns and adverbial noun phrases. So,
So what are we doing?
what? What's it called?
Oh.
Grade?
Oh, is that, just go, relation, so subtract from 75. So, what did I
First grade I've
say?
ever had.
75?
What did I say? What, 70?
72?
72. Yeah, 72.
That's 75.
Subtract from 72 and divide that number that you got by 72. All right. Adverbial nouns and adverbial noun phrases.
Wow.
Pretty bad.
It's 79.
Unfortunate. Okay. So the important thing to remember first is what adverbial means. Richard, what do you suppose adverbial means?
Modifies. It can be used as a verb and it functions as an adverb. I have no clue. It goes from a verb and modifies as an adverb.
Anything
I
that
have no clue. What is it? Anything
Well,
that
here's the
modifies a
deal.
verb.
anything that modifies a verb is an adverb. You know that, right? Thumbs up. Anything that modifies a verb is an adverb. That might be an adverb phrase or whatever. What we're doing here is we're trying to understand this word adverbial, and this is anything that modifies a verb.
I'm
Right?
just thinking.
So if we have an adverbial
I
noun,
just use an
what that
adjective to
means
modify a
is,
verb.
what that means is that, yeah, but it's predicate, because it didn't matter. If you have a noun that's modifying a verb, that is an adverbial noun. Right? And if you have a phrase, a noun phrase, that is modifying a verb, that is an adverbial noun phrase. So adverbial is just describing what it's doing. It's very simple. So here's the deal. For example, we have this little sentence here. Sarah went home. All right, so our subject is Sarah. Our verb is
Went.
all right. And now
home.
home. Well,
Home
no.
is an adverb.
So here's the problem. Is first of all, home. If you just saw it laying around, see a home over here, And I would say, what is that word? You would say it's a, Leah? A noun, exactly. What this is doing is it's answering a question.
Where did she?
It is answering the question. Where? Which is an adverb.
Possibly.
Where could she put? All right. What are the adverb questions? Chris, any clue?
How, when, where, to what extent?
How and where do we stand?
Good job, Richard.
Nice job. What are they, Chris?
When, how, when, to what extent.
When, how, when, and to what extent? Missed one. And you said when was.
How, when, where, to what extent?
Nice job, Leah. What are they, Chris?
How, where, when, to what extent. When. How, when, to what extent.
You're really, really heavy on the when, for sure. Try them again. How, when, where, and to what extent. Those are the questions that an adverb answers, right? Perfect. Genius. All right, so here's the next one.
Number one.
Sometimes you'll get a phrase that modifies an adverb. Something like this: Grandpa and Grandma are coming next week, like they have up there. Next week is a whole entire phrase that's modifying are coming. It's being used as an adverb.
So is that
Week, on the other hand, is a noun, so that's what we call an adverbial noun phrase. You had something to say, Cody?
Is that what it is in verb or 8 last evening?
We'll worry about that here in a second. Number one, what is our first adverbial noun phrase? Leah.
Yeah, someday.
Someday, that is a whole entire phrase, used as a noun phrase. I'm going to use an adverb. It's an adverbial noun phrase. And number two, Chris?
Do what?
Number two. By the way, what is someday answering? Which question? When, exactly. My way, exactly. What question is that answering? How? Richard, number three.
Next week.
And that's answering which question?
When?
Exactly.
What was number two again? For me?
No, my way.
No, it's for me. Isn't it?
It's my way. Exactly. It's my way. You weren't paying attention to what I threw there. Number four.
What's
Cody.
number one?
That would be last week.
Last week, which question is that?
Here.
All right. So here's how you diagram it, which we've obviously already done these to a large degree. So number 8, you were correct in saying it was last evening, because it is. Last evening is your adverbial noun phrase. All right. So our subject in that sentence is Cody. Family. I'm going to call him the fan, because I can. Richard, what's our verb?
Play.
Played. Ooh, not paid. Played, all right. And Chris, something else from the sentence.
I don't know, I'm still trying to diagram.
You're still trying to diagram it?
Yeah, diagram.
All right.
And we played croquet or whatever that is.
What's croquet?
It's a direct object.
Croquet is a direct object. All right. So what's next, Leah?
Huh?
What's next?
Last evening.
Last evening. What's last evening?
Done.
Right, it's an adverbial noun phrase. So
Evening.
evening, and then last describes evening. This diagram treated like an adverb, even if it's a noun. But since it's describing it, it's an adverb.
I thought nouns, even if they're in verb form and stuff, have to always be on a
Well,
line that's horizontal.
the problem is
That breaking our rules.
a little bit. It's not actually technically acting as a noun in this situation. It's acting as an adverb, which
That
is
doesn't matter though.
well, it kind of does because in a prepositional phrase is still acting as a noun. And then during, on,
Still.
yeah. Yes.
Number 9. Would
We're
that be?
missing something here on this one yet,
Oh,
though.
This one.
Our family, yes.
So,
Alright.
number 9, that would be I have had.
Our verb is what?
Have
Have had, yes. Have had. And where's our adverbial phrase now?
all day.
All day. Alright, I want to talk about number 21 because I'm pretty sure you can function on the rest of those.
Oh, I already got it. They did drove it.
Oh yeah, they drew it out for you. What's the noun clause? Just to double check that. Leah,
What?
the noun clause in 21.
What do you think?
The noun clause? Or the
No,
my
that.
adjective clause? I'm sorry, adjective clause. The adjective clause, one that goes to the noun that I carry. And the adverb clause, Chris?
Huh?
The adverb clause in 21?
When Jesus came into the world.
Where does when go?
Huh?
Where does when go
On the
on the dotted line? Richard, that's absolutely negative your business there. All right.
Interesting.
Interesting, yes, but not your business. What's the word about?
Number 10.
Why don't we do? No, that one should be no trouble.
Which one?
Number 10. I want. I've been having some struggles with things like 15 through 20. I want to look at those. Chris, what's number 15?
House produces.
Yes. The thing is, it's the American Printing House for the Blind. That's the whole entire subject.
But.
American Printing House for the Blind is the whole entire subject in this situation. But produces is correct. And Leah, what about number 16? Nice one.
One,
One.
subject,
Yeah.
and was.
One was. That's correct.
Ooh.
Yes. Cody, what about number 17?
Years was.
Years was. And Richard, number 18.
Are any.
Are any of the flower left? Any is is that plural or singular?
Whatever.
Hmm?
Whatever.
Whatever
Is.
is any. That's correct. Is any of the flower left? Alrighty. Somebody had a question on something.
27 and 28.
27 and 28. Ah. Okay.
What do you want?
Okay, so as a pronoun.
And like as an adjective. I have no idea how to do that.
Okay.
I can.
Well, what does an adjective do?
An adjective that describes
A.
a noun.
Give me a noun.
Let me see. Let's go with, what's a fun noun? Let's go with hammer. Is that a noun?
Good. That's a noun. And we'll put an adjective in front of it,
That
right?
hammer.
Bingo.
See, that's right.
There you go. All right. So now we're describing the noun. Now I have to use it as a pronoun, right?
Yeah.
So this is a situation where
These
A pronoun
parts
is-
were obviously written a long time ago.
what is that?
Bill Clinton and Andrew Johnson were the only presidents to be impeached.
Ah, true. So using that as a pronoun, so we need basically we need, well, what's the pronoun? Give me an example of a pronoun. He. So you can just use it as a subject in a sentence, right? He is happy.
Yeah.
He is under the table.
So that is under the table.
Could be. You could also say this. We went to see him. That's also a pronoun that uses as a noun. That should be all you need to know. All right. English. Actually, Chris, why don't you do yourself a favor, and me too. Go out, see if you can locate that trash bag and find your reading. Give it a whirl.
Richard, you want to locate it?
I don't want to go dumpster diving.
I don't either.
Well, it might be just the fruits of our troubles.
And
I would like to see if we can find the thing.
Can't. I'll find it.
What if it's not me?
Go see what you can do. Well, I don't know. Then we'll see where we can find it somewhere else, but it can't have just disappeared into thin air. Pretty sure.
It might have
Physically
somewhere,
impossible.
But it can bring what evil is.
Physical impossibility. All right, English.
You think miracles are impossible?
You want to disappear with thing? With God, all things are possible. Well, yes.
God might have just made us
I have my doubts.
He could have.
No, I'm not saying you can't have. I'm just saying I have my doubts.
You know, Christopher, you've had enough work. Let's get rid of this reading work.
You think that's how it works?
Probably not.
We'll probably go to the dumpster and find something interesting in there.
I went down to 5 and I'm about at 14.
Say again.
I was down to 5 and I'm about at 14.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Why did they put the I and the U so close together?
No. On this one, they messed some of the keys up. Really annoying because we're trying to push M and it's not M, it's F.
And are you sure you pushed the right button?
Yeah, they're just too far over. They mess you up when you use this one.
Mr. Kenton, so I'm gonna have a thing to say. You know how you helped us with number 9 in algebra?
Yes.
I didn't actually write any of that down.
That was unfortunate. We'll have to cross that bridge here in a second.
What is the Watergate scandal?
We don't want to
Next
go
then.
into that right now.
Oh, you want English book 6?
Yes, open English book 6. You must take your test out, you take your quiz out, and take anything out. Leave those in.
Adjective clause.
You didn't see it.
Yeah. Kind of wonder if that might be the case. It's all right. I'll go look here in a while. So,
What if it's soaking wet? Are you still gonna get it out?
Mom, I'm going to look. I
Okay, I have my grandpa used to go down to diving.
Mhm.
He'd just go behind the store, but it was the good food that they just picked. 'Cause it was,
Yeah.
they expired.
There are people that do
The
that.
package, eat it.
I would still not eat it.
Which?
What is a clause, Christy? A clause. An unimportant part of the sentence. All right.
It's like which. It usually starts with a which or a that or something.
Well, there's a couple different kind of clauses.
Need it.
Which to?
Oh, I know what. A clause is a group of words that contains a subject.
It contains a subject and verb. That is simply put, that's what a clause is. There are two kinds of clauses. There are dependent and independent, which you should know about by now.
Yeah, I think I know about them.
What's an independent clause? Independent.
It can function on its own.
It can function on its own. And these ones are just, these are dependent clauses.
Mr. Kenton,
Yes.
if a clause has a subject and a verb, like it claims the clause does, there shouldn't be an independent and dependent one.
Well, there are, because sometimes
They'll be sentences, they might not
They
make
don't-
sense, but they will be sentences.
Well, so they oversimplified it a little bit when they said back in first grade or second grade or whatever it was, that it has a subject and verb, it's a sentence. Because that's not completely true. If it doesn't have either one of those, it's for sure not. But it's still not necessarily, you know, if sometimes it needs a direct object or an object of preposition, like saying the sentence, for example, Christy is kind of a useless sentence. It has a subject and verb, but it's not complete. It's not a complete thought. So that's the way that works. Another definition of a dependent clause, other than a dependent clause, is we can call it a subordinate. That's another term for it. This, by default, turns into ordinate because so. Anyway, there are three types of dependent clauses, and we've been going through them with 8th grade. So if you were listening at all, you'll know them. And if you remember, what are three types of three types of clauses?
Adjective, adverb, and noun.
Adjective, adverb, and noun. They can be used in those three situations. It's kind of awkward to only verb clause, don't
Can you have a verb clause?
I don't think you can. It's very odd. Anyway, so that means, so an adjective clause is the one we're going to discuss first, which, by the way, these can only be the dependent ones. They cannot be, you can't have an independent clause that is one of these. It has to be a dependent. All right. So, an adjective clause functions as an adjective, and that means it describes another pronoun, which is weird. Relative pronoun functions within the adjective clause. A relative adverb functions as an adverb. Basically, if we started, has either a relative pronoun or a relative adverb in it. The relative adverb acts as an adverb within the sentence. The relative pronoun has a noun function. All right. Now the two relative adverbs are Jersey. They're listed in there. Underline or circle or something. Where and when are relative adverbs. So you see those are always going to function as an adverb in the clause. And the relative pronouns are who's, which, and that. That's correct. All right. Sometimes they are understood or implied to be there, which only happens if they are not the subject of the clause. All right, so number one.
What do you say that we fix that again?
This is all really good at this point. While we're here. So, number one is, what is our clause? Right, from which to termites. And does it have a relative pronoun, relative adverb, or an understood? Relative adjective, that was one of the options. Relative pronoun, that's correct. So it has a noun function. All right, number two, Christy.
Where it can be seen at night.
Yes. Relative adverb, relative pronoun, or understood?
What's the bathroom?
Yes. Where is relative adverb? And Lucy, number three. It has a unique clause that uses to break open termite hits. Starts there, goes to yes. The giveaway here is the fact that it has another subject and verb that's not the main sentence.
Which is.
Or that. But it is in this case, Bridget. Well, we're calling it a just understood. That's your option. What about number 4, Lisa?
It's when it's threatened.
When it's threatened, that's a
Relative pronoun. Might be relative adverb.
relative adverb. When is a relative adverb? Kristen?
I had it written down.
Whose rebellion brought great sorrow to his father David is a clause.
Yes.
And whose is a relative pronoun.
Correct. And Mercy number 6.
Who followed his promise. And it's a relative pronoun.
Yes. All right. This is so this whole thing about using relative pronouns well, he's trying as well. So who is used as a subject when it's referring to a person? So Enoch, who was the son of Cain, and whom is when it's is used as a direct object or object of preposition. Whom is never used as a subject of the clause. So the situation, like the second one, ask not for whom is all told, for whom is the direct object. Which is kind of a little bit odd, but whom is always used as a direct object or object of preposition in situations, and where who would be the subject. That functions as a subject in the central adverb clause, can refer to a person or an object. The word which, so you don't always have to use who. That's what you're saying. The word which can function as a subject or object.
So are that and who interchangeable?
A little bit. I mean, you're not going to use the word who if you're referring to a.
You could say Enoch, that was the son, I mean, you could, but it's not,
But
doesn't sound right.
Sounds kind of funny, yeah. Whose functions as an adjective, modifies the subject of the clause. Whose always does that. Interesting, cool. All right. So number 7. The function of the relative pronoun
It's something.
is a subject.
It
Which
goes
word?
to Johnson.
He goes to Johnson, yeah, or James Weldon Johnson, which is he's the whole guy. Just go to Johnson, good enough. Who was being used as a subject of the sentence? Number 8. Lisa?
It's the central movement.
Yes, and what is where?
It's an adverb.
Adverb, that's correct.
Okay, well, why would it go to Central America?
It's being used as
It's
as
in
an
the
adverb
central
in the clause. So when you diagram it, you would put it under function.
Oh,
You put where under
I
function.
see.
And in Central America is adverb.
In Central America?
Then where?
Right, but it's describing Central America, then it's describing town, which means an adjective clause. So there's an adjective clause modifies Central America, but where itself is under the function. All right, Christy, number 9.
I would draw the narrative poems.
Yep. What is which? How is it used?
As the subject in the text.
Yes. Okay, I am. Yeah, we'll leave that there. They have they're just basically running you through a bunch of review and that lesson. So.
Any questions, struggles, problems?
Yeah, number 12. That has to be
Okay,
12.
how would you set it up?
The rest of the I don't know.
Okay, how is that used? What are the 2 ways that can be used?
Subject or verb?
Is it being
Mr. Kenneth,
Tell me.
if you give a sacrificial gift to God born out of love, is it possible for that to be displeasing to God?
So you give a sacrificial gift to God.
Yeah,
Run that
it's-
by me again.
It says, can it ever be possible for a sacrificial gift to be displeasing to God? I mean, I don't think it
Because
can
if
be,
you give
but-
it in the right way.
So here's the thing.
Well, like, whatever.
So take Saul's example, which is what it's referring to, correct?
No, the widow's.
Oh, the widow's mine.
Yeah. Except that wasn't even sacrificial. Like,
Well, think about.
it's like when Saul.
Think about this for a second. Think about, for example, the Tibetan monks. No, they're not giving it to God. But I don't think it matters because sometimes a sacrificial gift can be given. Is this a teacher check?
It has a little turn.
Yeah, it is. Well, maybe I would like to come up with your own answer.
I know, but then the one above it isn't a teacher check. The yes or no.
1980. is-
Probably they'll say yes or no in my answer key.
Pretty sure we could-
I-
If it's
I feel-
actually a sacrificial gift, I don't think God is just going to throw that away.
No. So I've been going back to this thing about Saul where it says to obey is better than sacrifice. Like when he
That
was,
wasn't even a sacrifice. Basically, he just did that because he knew he was supposed to, and he could easily do it. And then he wasn't even sacrificing. He was just saying that was just his excuse.
so when it's referring to a sacrificial gift, it's talking exclusively like one that it actually like it takes a sacrifice in order to attain it, correct?
Yeah,
Is
so
that's what it's referring to?
I don't think it can.
Well, I'll put it this way. Here is what it boils down to in that situation. As long as the sacrifice is, how am I giving you this answer? I want you to put down your own answer, but here's the way I would view that. If it is a sacrifice to God, a sacrificial offering to God, God will not reject that. But if it is a sacrificial offering to show other people how much you love God, He might. It winds up being a condition of your heart.
So we're supposed to put down yes or no for that.
I want you to come up with your own answer for that one.
I think I would know.
Well, if you have a good explanation for the reasoning behind it, then I'll work with that. I can. If you think that one through, I will not be hard on you. Let's see if I can locate Chris's book.
Did you get, how many adjectives did you get on from 8 to 30? I have 14.
I hope you don't locate it. Make sure you're watching.
See him fall into the
I
trash.
actually,
That would be funny.
I look good, like a rummage. Like not good, but I look.
Rummaging through the trash.
Yeah. Like
You
I wasn't
open
gonna.
the bags.
I wasn't gonna go and rip the bags open and just rip through
Oh,
them.
he's doing that for sure.
I wasn't gonna do that.
Well, then how do you get rid of the book?
Well, I just looked in all the trash bags, like they were all.
Oh.
You could see through them, and I meant like there wasn't. I couldn't see any looking in them.
Yeah, I have
No,
the work
for-
too, that's what I want to get. If he falls in the trash can, I love it, like, that's me, but I. Jenny,
Really bad at math.
Jenny, you're so
I know it ain't
bad.
for us.
Who's it for, Miss Heather?
Victoire!
It probably stinks.
3:30.
Go put it in the
I'll
washer.
take the cover sheet out if you don't like that.
If we put it in the washer.
the washer.
Is your pen,
Yes.
is it clean?
Not particularly.
I don't want it.
You could actually copy that one,
I know I could.
and then those pages would be clean.
Is it damp?
Got a little bit of coffee damage on the bottom.
That's just disgusting.
That's not cool. But here we are.
Can you tell me from 8 to 30 how many I did?
No. I'm off to do something else here.
What did you tell?
Oh, man. It just kind of makes me happy when there's no concordance at all in the Bible.
Hey, you haven't reached the point. When you're, if you get eighth grade, it's way worse.
We are in eighth grade.
I know the Bible.
I know we aren't doing
We did that.
it. We're not gonna do it.
No, we aren't.
We
That's
are.
awesome.
We're gonna do, letter typing next week.
Typing,
Yep.
good try. That's gonna not erase Bible.
It's not.
You guys don't do Bible.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, you did
They do
that
like
stuff.
one lesson a week.
But yeah, you currently never did it.
Book even.
Well, actually look at it though, because the lessons are a lot, like,
I don't
more
even remember
complex.
my Bible book is
Like,
not
a lot of
multiple
Bible.
choice. It's like.
We're just not getting.
Or for like a lot of finding the verse and then writing it down.
Oh, right here. Here's our Bible.
I'm gonna look at it.
Dude,
Like, this is what I'm talking about.
that looks.
You can't find it in the story. Can't find it in the story.
Only about like 5 of the questions you can find in the story.
Yeah, there's
50. All the other 95.
Hey, yours is not.
Yeah.
What's
And
the
it has
difference
water.
in Bible?
15 minutes our recess. Lunch.
I got a 90 on
This
the
is
first.
lunch.
really
Like, this is a
I know.
It's
Lunchtime, Mr. Ken.
We want lunch right now.
We're
We demand-
starving.
I'm gonna sue you for like something.
Gummy worms.
No, not gummy worms. You're gonna go all out.
We're gonna sue him for all his candy and everything.
Mr. Kent, we're gonna
Sue you for Tilly and your candy.
For what?
because you're not letting us eat.
I want lunch.
We want lunch.
Oh, that's too bad. And the cool thing about this situation is that I can dictate it. All right, Chris.
Hey.
All right, I need help.
We need to check.
He's
Reading.
the next Adolf Hitler.
We barely have enough time.
We have enough time to check. Yes.
I need help real quick. It's awkward in this pen, isn't it?
We'll have the next period.
Is it want like something that's happening right now? Or something?
Okay, so here's the deal. I want you to check this. If you don't like it, you can wash your hand afterward. All right. But it's the way it works.
Yeah.
Print it out for you. Unfortunately, it's just some stuff we have to do. And if it falls in the trash, we can't just always fix everything. Yes.
So, I lost a pink calculator somewhere along the line, you got it?
Yes.
Eating Ben. Did your little kid have it?
No, it was laying around one day and I had no clue whose it was. Probably.
He had swallowed it.
It said some things on the back and I was just like, oh,
What's your
whatever,
natural
somebody
disaster that's happening in
will come up to,
Global warming. Yeah.
So, if you guys could
It actually-
quickly get with me to reading.
I don't know, where is the reading book?
I can't find my
Can you
reading
throw it
book.
out? Do you want me to
I
go
think
back?
it's in
I know, I got everybody but Chris's. I got grades from everybody, so I handed them all back.
Yeah, I know where.
It. Oh, my.
Political
All right.
stand.
So that is 803 lesson 6, is that correct?
I want to hear you guys' stories.
No.
Yes.
What is your stuff?
I'm not gonna tell you.
I am not going to read it. It is so.
Yeah, that is so lame.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
still read them.
We had to do a story.
Well, it's like a plot for the story or whatever.
All right.
Explain.
Have enough
I
time.
can't remember red pen then.
Send it.
Oh. That's actually really bad.
You need a
I
pen?
need my red pen. I found it.
All right. Number one. There's a bunch of these. There's. It said any two. He was born in New York, graduated in Pennsylvania, became chair of English at the University of Illinois, and wrote books. I don't know why that would matter. But some of those are good. If you have something else.
I have something else. One prize for third place for a short story in some magazine.
What magazine was it?
Down right there.
Collier's.
No.
Collier's. Okay, I can work with that. That is an American publication, I believe. All right, number two. She had a children's magazine called Tansy.
That's
Three.
very ridiculous.
He wrote children's stories, or short stories, and essays.
I have essays and historical fiction.
I have children's stories and essays.
Children's stories and essays. Yeah, I suppose he worked with that. What do you don't know what you had, but you had something?
Yeah, I have red.
Okay. That always make me more suspicious.
I just have something.
All right, number four. Once there was a king, a tournament of stories. Please don't, it's fine, just, I want you to stick to this up.
I just have.
Once there was a king, a tournament of stories.
I don't have a two.
Oh.
Sure it is.
There once was a
Take that
king.
out and try again.
It turned into stories.
What up?
All right. So you just had, once it was a king?
Yeah.
That's what I have. That's all I have.
I have a tournament of stories.
I have once I was a king,
Tournament of stories.
a tournament of stories.
That's correct. Yeah, once there was a king and a tournament of stories. Well, the whole thing, write it in for me. Number five. It is one of the stories found within the frame story.
I have
Okay.
April 7 humans in the
I have because that story's part of the tournament.
Yeah.
So my thing is, how was it connected to it? So it was part of it, connected to it. I didn't really think that made sense. So if you read the outline, so they're bored and they solve the problem. The young prince and princess, right?
So what do you have down for five?
Five, they both had a problem, and both of the problems were solved by the young.
Oh, that way. Yeah, you got too specific. That's actually not a terrible answer, to be real honest, but, yeah, I'll give you credit for that one. But, yeah, it is inside the frame stories. All right, so number six. They critiqued the stories and voted for their favorite. So number seven,
For number 6, I have a storyteller or leader short.
yeah, they voted on it or whatever. Yeah. One way all had ended the story without announcing the winner of the contest. He let readers choose which story they enjoyed the most without being influenced by the voters.
I have a teach you
That's an
wondering.
example. There's a few different options, yes.
It leaves you wondering.
I have Sully would have a cliffhanger to go off next time.
To keep all on suspense.
What do you have, Chris?
So people can figure out which one is the best. I think. Which one they like.
Great. Prince John and Princess Jane. Number 9, they lived in a royal palace. Number 10, the chief storyteller had died and they needed to find a new one. Number 11, number 12.
This is cool.
Say what?
Okay, there we go.
So which of the four purposes did he have for writing?
I have
Four of them, but I haven't.
All right, so the subject of the story.
You can check these in there.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You know I can, just simply do one at a time. Leah,
What?
what's number 15?
Number 15.
What do you have? Just
Just the main core, just the main character.
Dory.
Working that. Dividing into 3 parts, state your purpose, which you should have a purpose.
Where's the purpose at?
Number 17. State the purpose of your story. Include what audience you hope to reach and why you believe your story will be worth reading. If you have down, it is not worth reading.
I have it down and will be worth reading.
No, not that much.
Why? Seriously, I did not.
Take these things seriously.
They ain't worth reading.
I did take it seriously.
I always
don't
said
think
because it's
anyone
interesting,
would want to
I
read that story.
should be-
Yeah, that's what I
No one wants that.
All right, it'll be super interesting.
It'll be like
Okay, but why?
bubbling with joy.
Why it's
Because my
going to be
teacher told me to write this. I
No,
have
I
no
want to know why it's going to be worth reading.
because it's
Don't answer. Don't say right
entertaining.
or wrong.
It's
I'm just
entertaining.
saying.
It is
Right. 18. A.
Yeah, boring.
18A is allegory. Has a literal and a symbolic meaning. What do you have? Frame story? Folktale? Well, some folktales can be allegories.
No.
19. That's very, can be subjective. But ample just means large servings. They have some examples. Cornbread, barbecue chicken, peanut butter pie.
What? I have ice cream, tacos, and
Yeah,
pizza.
it doesn't matter. Things that you like, ample servings of. Person is shunned by his family. How does he feel? Obviously, he feels awesome. And he loves them very much. 21. Oh, that's not the answer you have?
Yeah.
21. And this commandment have we from him, that he who loveth God loveth brother also. Alright, I will grade those myself because there's so much teacher check stuff to look at. So just make sure you mark how many wrong there were. Mark how many wrong.
I actually got a good grade.
Hand it in without dropping it in the trash.
Don't put it on my list.
Oh, I almost dropped it in.
Didn't even try that.
You can put it like right there. So.
I'm not sitting
I don't either.
That's my language book. That's not Christopher's.
That's Cody.
What
Oh, that's Leah's.
did I do that?
That's. Hey, no, you don't. I would get my out in there.
That's good.
There we go. Got that out of here.
Yeah.
You guys, you're touching everything, making it touch everything.
As long as it's not.
All right.
Just throw it in the trash and copy everyone.
You need
Where are
help.
they?
Number 50.
For number 50.
That one?
What's the problem? Yeah, you'll have to staple those, Chris.
No idea how to figure that out.
Richard's hungry. I am too, actually.
Next one, you get to come to me hungry. Sure. Bless you in some encouraging thing.
It was going to be Alpha 6 minus 4, which is 3.
Okay. What's the question?
Not right.
Water?
So if I write it and it's wrong, what should I do?
Well, I'm concerned, I'm trying to figure out exactly what you want me to say, or what?
I want you to say something.
Oh, no, I can do that.
You don't just write it if it's wrong, it's wrong.
Okay, but why? Chris. What would we do?
It's just Christopher, the one, that one I don't know what to do.
Why is that?
I don't know what. I don't think we should do that, I'm guessing.
Chris. And Richard.
F1A is the variable we're on.
Okay.
So put that
I would
as
call that lane, but that's.
lane, and then,
No, lane, 1A would need an A there. Lane, yeah. So you're using lane for your variable. So Ashton picked 6 more rows in lane, and Christopher picked for less than Ashton. All right, so you're using Lane as your variable. And then Ashton has 10. Christopher is what?
Because he picked 4 less than Ashton and she has 6.
And as a result, probably 8, but anyway. As a result, Ashton picked how much in comparison to Lane?
L minus 2.
L minus 2. So he picked 2 less than Lane?
No, I have L plus 2 for me.
So then he picked 2 more than Lane?
It doesn't say if you pick more. You pick more than Ashton.
Well, it kind of does, by insinuation. Say exactly how many, but. Paper airplane building class. I see. What is the purpose for your flying device?
I don't know, might fly.
It might.
I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
32, 32.
All right.
I got those, but I didn't know about it. No idea. I have
32 and 33. Probably don't have time to go through the whole things, but we can try to. What are they? All right. What's the first step?
well, maybe that's
So I'm gonna just let you know a little secret, and that's the fact you actually don't have to be there.
no, because
But you sure
what
can.
you're doing, you can forget.
Say what?
I times
What would you
10
do
by
if
x.
somebody X?
So 10x minus 30. That's what I have. Is that wrong?
Okay, the important thing to do. The important thing to do is if you're going to move decimal points, you have to make sure that you do it for the whole situation, right? So we have 0.5x, 0.05x.
I don't know.
And then we have
Plus 10.
plus 10,
Point
0.
10. Then in parentheses x equals 0.75.
All right. The important thing to remember is that if you're going to move the decimal point for one number, you have to do it for all of them. So if you're going to multiply the whole thing by 10, which you actually don't have to, you can. If you want to multiply everything by 10, you have to make sure that everything is multiplied by 10. That includes this, and includes that. So we wind up with
X plus 10, 10x minus 30 equals 75.
right.
So
So now we just
then
go
with the
5x.
parentheses, you have to go 100 x minus 30 equals 75. So then it would be 101 x plus 300 should be 375.
It doesn't come out. It doesn't come out.
Divided by what?
0.05. Came out to 3.7.
Did it out
It's 3.5.
Oh, here's where it was wrong. So this was 0.3. No,
No, it was
was.
just
So
3.
here's the problem. Is we didn't multiply by 10, we multiplied by 100.
What do you mean?
We're gonna move that decimal point 2 places and we can multiply by 100. That's where our root cause is. Thing is,
Yeah, I can figure it out.
after, basically, that's kind of a tricky situation. If they don't I mean, you don't have to multiply it by 100. Like, you could have just 0.05x plus 0.1 x minus 3 equals 175. You can't just run it like this, right? You can go 0.05x plus 0.1x minus, and then you go 3 times 0.1, which is going to be 0.3 equals 0.75. You can just run it like that. That's no big deal. And it might actually be easier in some ways. It's not for long. Lisa.
Mr. Peter, it's still now.
So this comes out to 0.105x.
I did it the other way.
You did the other way, so what do you got?
I had 5x plus 1,000x minus 3,000 equals 105.
It should be, this is 0.1, correct?
Yeah.
This is going to be 100.
I know, but I
Oh, yeah. And then you
That's
have
it by 12.
100x minus 300 equals 0
Did I
equals
not
0.
add enough zeros?
That's a distinct possibility.
Why is it 100 right there?
We have to multiply by 100 to move our decimal
I know,
place
but
to
that means
1.
it should still be 10.
Which one?
5x minus 10 instead of 100.
Oh. Yeah, getting mixed up here with my scribble. Yeah, it is.
So I did add on.
5x
Minus
minus
1,000
1000x equals,
minus
minus 100.
3,000 equals 75.
Alright,
And then
so now we have, oh my god.
it's not minus Mr. Ken, it's plus.
So what about this? Oh, this is plus.
So it's 1,005 minus 3,000. Yeah, 2,000. And then you divide 3,075 by 1,005.
Amanda donated her pizza to my cause because she went home. Why did she go home? Sick. Comes out to 3.05970149.
It's the same thing that if you put this back.
One, that's 3 point, or the 0 in there. What number is it?
32.
32. And it's not coming out?
It's not.
Okay, let me start here from scratch. Do it myself, see if it works. Getting a little confused with the numbers.
They never get a parentheses before.
It shouldn't matter. 0.05 x plus 0.10 x minus 3 equals 0.75. Multiply the whole situation by 100. 5x plus 10x minus 300 equals 75.
I think you
one thing that you had learned did differently.
Since you're 100xing, you had a 10x, didn't you, before? When it's just a plain x, you had a 10x, now you have a 100x.
That's good. I had multiplied by 100.
Oh, were you not
So I
doing
can
that
multiply
last
everything
time?
by 100.
Well, before we did the thing. Oh.
Now we did it by 100, but it's still the same.
And so what other ones in 50 are we skipping? 51 and 52?
And 60 is through 62.
What? 60, oh yeah. Subtraction and distilling.
Okay, so the first thing they did, which is interesting to me, is they solved it to 0.05 plus 0.10x minus 0.30. So they solved it to there first, equals 0.75, and then they multiplied it by 100.
And it
Which
comes
I'm
out
trying
to
to
7,
decide.
right?
Yeah.
See, I did it that way and then got 7 and then got it in the difference.
I'm trying to decide why that would make any difference.
Because when you do the parentheses, you're supposed to do them first.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to decide, like, you're gonna multiply over 100 anyway, why that would matter.
And it's not
But
the
it
3.
must.
three
It must,
times.
we must not be able to do, like, when we multiply by 100, we must not be able to do that
So
first.
you're not.
So first we simplify that out, and then we can multiply by 100, which I guess I didn't
And then it's number 33 done.
realize that was a struggle, which is kind of odd. Say what?
Is 33 done?
Yes.
Wait, where are you typing on?
A green thingy?
What green food?
She's, isn't it on?
It's not on the side.
I know, it's like on there, just a,
Maybe there's some.
yeah, let me see.
I do, I was the boys are locked out of their classroom.
That's also fun.
It's
That's
just
enough I got
butter, sugar, egg, soda, powder, vanilla, flour, chocolate chips. What do you
The
make?
problem is when I write that stuff, I'm usually like doing something else at the same time, so I never actually did like recipes memorized. Songs on the piano either, because I'm always fighting with somebody over like stuff I'm trying to mess me up.
And programming crawl over my arm.
Every time anyone
goes
goes to piano, so we just beelines it over there.
And if she don't let her out, she'll
So just sit stand there and scream, and you can't do anything.
Well, me and Mary, she steals it from me, so we have to push each other off the bench. And if you tickle her, she'll go up.
Wrote her own song.
Who?
Terribly cool. Mary just has her own song somewhere. I can't remember anything.
I can remember some of that. Have you copied?
I have some.
You have to hook up to the printer, which is,
Those computers aren't hooked up
they should be, you should just be able to hook onto the Wi-Fi, which is connected to the computers, so.
because last year when